Hi there, friends and neighborship, C4 Legionnaires, and Helix fans everywhere. This is your Captain Brian Vollmer coming to you on the This Is Metal Show.
Welcome to the This Is Metal Show. I am Jason J. Rock Houston, and my co-host, of course, is Tom Collier. Now, Brian, who isn't a Helix fan? You guys are celebrating 50 years of Helix, so I know you have a new CD coming out. Let's start off. I'd love to ask you because the song that first made me a Helix fan, believe it or not, was going all the way back to 1979. Was down in the city. That's always been one of my favorite songs, but yet I think it's one of those songs that many people have forgotten about.
I wrote that song in Bradford, Ontario. One of the few songs that I wrote all by myself.
Wow.
And I like that song too. If I ever go out and do a solo show, maybe I'll put that in.
Yeah. Um, and then I'd also like to ask you about you were sharing with us. You have a new single that's out for a new studio track, "Stand Up." That's going to be on the new Best Stuff coming out in July. Talk about the new track and what all went into writing that song.
Well, the new track started off in Fort Myers, Florida, where I live in the winter with my wife, Linda. We have a house down there. And I hang out with Stat Howland, who played drums for Metal Church over the last couple of years, but he's also played for Wasp, Lita Ford, Blackfoot, and Johnny Hyatt, who is his guitar player in his weekend band, 10,000 Views. Johnny said, "Come on over and write." So I said, "Sure." We're kind of fishing buddies. So I went over there and we wrote this song called Death of Love by a Thousand Cuts. At the same time, I was talking to my buddy Gord Pryor back in Ontario, who I wrote the Power of Rock and Roll album with. And Gordy was going through one of his breakups with one of his women friends. And I said, "Look, Gord, just jump a plane, come on down here and relax." And you can even write. I got Johnny Hyatt, where I'm writing with. So Gord came down and we went over to Johnny's place one afternoon, and I said, "Oh, we'll play this song we wrote." So Gord's there, and he's kind of like this. He's rubbing his chin, and after he hears the songs, he goes, "Well, it's kind of flat." He says, "I hear it like this," and he's got a completely different outlook on the melody and everything else. So we set about to rewrite the chorus, and then he scattered the verse, and then he went back to Ontario. In the meantime, Johnny went and laid down the rest of the guitars. Step played the drums. They brought in a bass player from Vegas and the guitar player for Alda Nova, or the keyboard player rather for Alda Nova. And lo and behold, then it was sent up to Ontario, and then Aaron Murray and Gord and myself went in and we pounded out vocal tracks for 8 hours, and then they mixed it, and that's how you got the song. So a kind of a long and winding story with that song, but it's doing very well. It got something like 10,000 listens first week out. So
Wow. I'm going to throw it to you, Tom.
Sure, absolutely. So listen, I want to congratulate you on 50 years in music. I've been doing it for 40, 50 years. I mean, that's real longevity. And one thing I want to tell you is what I love about this band is I've listened from the beginning and from the 70s, 80s, 90s into now, this last song. The band continues to evolve. The music is, they're
mhm.
not changing the band, but it's evolving. And that's really such a great thing to me. Let's talk about what you think about the evolution of your band. I mean, don't you feel the same thing? The writing, the songs, everything.
Well, we're just a prism that the music we're listening to gets refracted through. And I write with different people. So when I write with different people, I get a different maybe attitude and what we produce. Right now, I'm writing with Tony Palashi, who I wrote the When Pigs Fly album with. And we've come up with a couple of really good songs, but once again, they're a little bit different sounding. Even Stand Up that Gordon I wrote is a little bit different than, say, the songs on Power of Rock and Roll. But songs are like children. You write them, and then they're off on their own, and they evolve with other people. Sometimes other bands cover the songs. We've had people cover a Heavy Metal Love, Dirty Dog, other songs in our catalog. So I just write, and I try to enjoy the process of writing. I find that when you're a writer, you're not the instigator of creativity. You're more of a lightning rod. Uh, and you pick up energy, and you pick up those ideas that are floating around in the universal mind, let's say. And depending on how much you're submerging yourself into music, at the time depends on how good of a lightning rod you are. And so if you're doing music 7 days a week, all day long, you're more likely to come up with something. Does that
So in
make
your
any sense?
absolutely, absolutely, I
I
do the
don't
same.
really, I've changed my, people think I've changed my sound and made a conscious effort at times, but that was never the case. It was always the person I was writing with, just writing a good song. And the goal was always just to write a good song. When I wrote with Mark Ribler, the Business Doing Pleasure album was quite different album for, say, songs I've been writing with Paul. But I really enjoyed that process with Mark Ribler. I thought those songs were very good. They were supposedly for my solo album, and then they became the Helix album. But I find that when you really click with somebody, the songs can really fast. They're not labored. Although some songs do take a long time. Running Wild in the 21st Century, Paul and I took 6 months to write that song. So. But then other songs like Good to the Last Drop, I wrote in a half an hour with Mark Ribler. So there is no set formula, let's say, to writing a good song. So once again, when I get into a writing situation with anybody, I just try to enjoy the process and count my blessings that I'm lucky enough to be able to do that thing called writing. That's my most favorite time.
Absolutely. All musicians, we love that. I'm writing a new album right now. It's my favorite time of the world. Just to wake up in the morning, you start writing, you grab your guitar, you start singing. It's just such a great process. Just one
Hmm.
more question for you. 50 years, you must have had some highlights in your career that you'll never forget. Why don't you just tell us a few of those highlights, if you don't mind? I'm sure the listeners would love to hear that.
Oh, geez, there's been lots, but probably touring Europe with Kiss in 1983. We were the first band to play with Kiss with their makeup off in Lisbon, Portugal. Um, but there's been lots of other things, meeting Robin Williams, Richard Pryor, and Rip Taylor at the Gimme Good Lovin' video shoot down in Hollywood. Um, Playing with Ian Gillan over in Europe, being in East Berlin with Ian Gillan, playing with Ryan James Dio, doing several Motorhead tours. I love Lemmy; he was a great guy. Um, Geez, I could go on for hours on this. Playing with Alvin Lee, playing with Eric Burden, playing with Mitch Ryder in Indiana. Uh, those were all people I listened to, and so to actually meet them and talk to them and um, like Dan McCafferty was one of my heroes that I grew up on, and we played many times with Nazareth. And Dan McCafferty was everything I expected in a singer. He was a great guy and fantastic frontman. Same with Dio. Same with Ian Gillan was another one of my heroes. Um, so meeting them, but I still. I still get excited. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like it hasn't wore off on me. A couple of weeks ago, I got up and sang with Steel Panther, and I just thought it was the greatest, nice guys, and it was so much fun. And a couple of years before that, I met Blackberry Smoke, which I was really into, or am really into. I love that band and their music. And so meeting Charlie Starr, that was another one. Meeting Steve Earle when we did the it was a benefit for Parkinson's disease. I think it was called Another Day on the Other Side or something like that.
It's
So all
amazing.
those things.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Jason. I'm sure you got some more questions
No,
for him.
50 years of Helix. I mean, that's quite an accomplishment, Brian. And you're at a point in your career, 50 years into this career, and you probably don't think of yourself this way, but you're a veteran of the music industry, and what's it like when you have younger musicians coming up to you, telling you, "Hey, Brian, Helix and your music, man, you really influence what I'm doing." I mean, that must be a great feeling.
It is a great feeling. It's better than money, having
Yeah.
respect from your peers but you have to keep both feet on the ground and keep a level head about it and not let it go to your head. And you have to approach the business with controlled passion. I tell all my students, because I teach vocals, I teach bel canto. I'm probably one of the last people in the world to teach true bel canto. It's taught to me by Eduardo Johnson. Um, but I tell my students that you have to have controlled passion when you're in the music industry, especially because not every day is the big gig. Not every day is the big song or the big hit in the radio or whatever. Like that gives you that that pump of adrenaline. There's a lot of days in between where you're talking to some asshole on the phone you don't want to talk to, or something stressing you out about somebody not showing up on time or missing a flight or whatever. And so when you're on an even keel and you're grateful for everything you do, I think that's another part of it too, to keep you a level head. My dad was a farmer. I grew up on a farm, and so my dad was a very humble human being. He worked his ass off, my dad, and the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And I
Mhm.
see that in many situations around me with people and families they've come from, and how their parents have taught them. And that's about it. That's all I can say on that.
Yeah, another thing I want to bring up is, Helix, like, you guys got your start in the 70s, been doing the last 50 years, and like Tom said, all through the 80s up to now. And probably, I remember tuning on MTV back in the day, watching Headbangers Ball and seeing, of all things, videos for like Heavy Metal Love, Good to the Last Drop, if you can believe that was played on Headbangers Ball. When you guys started making the music videos, that was really a new thing back in the day. What do you remember, like, from making those videos and actually seeing yourselves, on the MTV back in the day?
Well, our first experience with video was actually being shot in video at a little place called the Peppermint Lounge or something in Toronto. I don't know whatever happened to the tape, but there was like cords running everywhere. I remember that. And Leo Nebedek was playing for the band at that time. When we got signed to Capital EMI, they had us do the Heavy Metal Love video, and that was shot at the Massey Ferguson plant in Toronto. And we just did what we did on the road, and we were road warriors. We played 6, 7 nights a week. We never basically came home. We were always playing, and so we just got on stage and we just did what moved around like we always did. And I remember going down to LA on the Wild in the Streets album, looking up, and I think some of the guys from Poison were up on a balcony taking notes, and I would see little flavorings of Helix end up in other bands. For instance, I remember on our first album, I was wearing that fringe black jacket, and Tony Bon Jovi mixed their album, and then all of a sudden, the next John Bon Jovi album, guess what he's wearing? A fringe jacket. Coincidence? I don't know. But it was nice to think that maybe we were on the edge of, on the cusp of what was happening.
Take it away, Tom.
Sure. So this is a little bit different subject. I see you guys were in this show, Trailer Park Boys. They did something about how they do an episode about you guys in that. That's pretty wild.
Well, it started off with an episode called Close to the Heart, where Ricky is talking about his favorite band, Helix, and Bubbles talking about his favorite band, Rush. And my drummer at the time, Archie Gamble, phoned me up and he said, "Look, you should contact somebody in the show." So we contacted Mike Clattenburg, the director, and I said, "Look at Mike." I said, "I've never seen a TV show being filmed. What would you think if I came out to Halifax, Dartmouth on my own dime? I'll pay for my own room, everything, and I'd like to go down and see a film." He said, "Oh yeah, that'd be great." So I flew out there and they sent a limo out to the airport, picked me up, and they brought me in, and they were filming an episode called "I Think You Pissed Yourself, Mr. Leahy," and they were just as astounded of meeting me as I was of meeting them. I was starstruck when I met those guys, and they were such down to earth, nice guys. And I remember going out for supper, and that checkered shirt, that ripped shirt that Ricky wore there for the first 3 episodes, he was wearing the shirt. And people were coming up to the table asking for autographs, and they were so polite and so gracious with their fans, and that stuck in my head. And I just talked to Rob the other day, actually, by email. And I think they're coming out to our show in Moncton when we play there on June 14th. And there's still the same down to earth people, and they must all be multimillionaires by now because they make a lot of money, those guys, when they go out. We did tour with them out in Western Canada. Us, Swollen Members, which was a rap group, basically, and the Trailer Park Boys, and we did about 10 dates. I think it was put on by House of Blues, and I filmed from that tour, and it was a great experience, really fun. Then I ended up in the Countdown to Liquor Day movie. And I'm at the end. I pick up Randy, who's prostituting himself for cheeseburgers, but I stood there for about 3 hours with Alex Lifeson, and Alex had a blonde wig on, and I took a picture with him, which I used to have up on my wall in my teacher room. I'd say, "Hey, you know that woman is right there." And to tell you the truth, just wait. I'll show you something. I'll grab it right now. Just stay there.
No problem.
So they gave me this jersey. I just happen to have it here because I'm packing my stuff up to give to the University of Toronto, and they give me a tax deduction for it. But anyway, they give me this when I was in the movie. Can you see that?
Yep.
But on the back, I never noticed, but there was these signatures, and I always thought it was the guys, the Trailer Park Boys, right? Which it was. But I noticed there was a fourth signature, right? And I thought, who's that? And I'm looking at this signature right here. And I'm going, it's Alex Lifeson. So that was a little funny story about that. But I got lots of Trailer Park Boy memorabilia. I got Julian's rum and coke glass that he signed for me the first time I went out. I have the little conky finger puppets and oh geez, bobbleheads, hoodies.
Nice. Well, let's just one more question for you. Let's talk about some shows you have up and coming. You said June 14th. There's some other shows that people can catch Helix live at?
Well, June 14th is with Honeymoon Suite and Harlequin, both friends of ours out in Moncton at the casino there. Then on the 27th of June, we're here in London, Ontario. This is where I live, at Cowboys Ranch, and that's with we're headlining, and I hired Chip from Enough Is Enough, and a great local band called How's That, and Permacrush, which is going to do a 20-minute opening set. I think that's the original drummer for Buck Cherry in that band. And then we're having the same lineup the next night when we play in Kitchener at a club called Elements. They're both 1,000-seat clubs, so we're hoping a lot of people show up. They're kind of both my hometowns. I live in London now, but I was born in Kitchener, which used to be called Little Berlin until the Second World War. And then we're out in Tabor, Alberta with Tom Cochran, Prism and Northern Pikes. And then in August, we're with Default and Finger 11 in Regina at Shake the Lake. They're also putting, I think we might be doing maybe some native gigs, which probably doesn't register with you, but we play way up in northern native communities where they fly us up in basically a bush plane, right? 20-seater. And you go up there and there's no roads into these communities for a lot of them. And I love playing up there. Sometimes the PAs are not, what we're used to because it's hard to get stuff up there. But the people are just so sweet and so nice, and they treat us so well. And I just love going up there. And then I think in the fall we might be out with Nazareth again. So we'll see how that goes. And then I'll be back in Florida.
Excellent. Go ahead, Jason. I'm sure you got a question for
Okay,
him. We're getting towards the
I
end.
want to ask you about the new video to go along with the greatest hits CD for Rock You, because you have some other famous Canadians in the video backing up. Talk a little bit about the video.
Well, that's the two guys. That's Brent Fitz from Alice Cooper. Brent's from Winnipeg. Todd Kearns, he used to be in Age of Electric. He's from Saskatchewan, I think Saskatoon. Todd's got a great voice. Like that guy's amazing. Well, they're all amazing. But and then Phil X, who plays for Bon Jovi on guitar, and Daryl was also my bass player. Was there, and that's who we recorded Rocky with.
And then two more questions for you, then we'll let you go, Brian. I know, of course, over the course of the 50 years, sadly, two of your bandmates passed away. You want to talk at all about them, or share a special memory you have of either of them? I'm talking about, of course, Paul Hackman and Greg Hines.
Well, they were like brothers to me. When Paul died, it was so sudden. It was, I don't know, we didn't believe it was real. I remember when I was told when I got back to the hotel, I had gone out in the morning to write with somebody actually. And when I came back, everybody was crying, and we had just finished the tour. And we were headed back to Ontario, and it was a very unsettling time for the band. It's probably the closest we came to folding it because Paul was such an integral part of our sound. Um, but we continued on, and we struggled for a while, but we got back on our feet. Um, Fritz was a different situation entirely. Fritz fell off a ladder, and he really, like, he should have probably died from the fall, and he lived, and he was back playing in 6 months, and then that continued on for another year maybe, and then he got cancer, and then it was a slow descent into hell, and it was very, very difficult. He didn't really want people around him. He didn't want anybody to know, and you can't really say how you would feel until you've been there. And so we just all gave him his space. Although I sometimes just show up and then he'd have to take me in. But I think Fritz, it's funny because we're opposites in a lot of way, but I love the guy with all my heart. And I used to say that I made the rules and he broke them. But he was such a funny guy, you couldn't get mad at him, at least not for very long. Just did the funniest stuff when we were on the road. He really brought the spirits up, and I think you need someone like that at times because the road is a rough place. No matter how nice you got it, it's still difficult. You're away from home, and things are moving very quickly. And both those guys. When they died, it was like a piece of my heart went with them.
I'm sure, and Brian, the on the upside of things, I think it's great though, that you decided to carry on the Helix flag. You're out there still doing what you're doing, and a great place to end it today is let people know about the new Best of CD and when that's going to be available.
Can I just mention one last thing though before we go?
Sure.
There are other people that have been in the band too that have passed away. Ron Watson and Don Simmons, who were original members, they passed away a couple of years ago, and I kept in touch with those guys. Great bunch of people. Our old light man Dale Wright just passed away. Actually, just a month after his daughter passed away from cancer, he passed away. And we had a tragedy where Dan Fawcett, who played with us, I'd say around 2010, or no, year 2000, sorry, he was murdered in the park. And that was really a shocker. I hadn't seen him for years, but he was a sweet guy, sweet kid when he was in the band, really. And I don't know what happened in those years where I didn't see him, but somebody ended up stabbing him. So,
Yeah,
but I
yeah,
want to mention those guys because
of course,
everybody that's been in the band has had contributed to something to the band. You know what I mean?
of course. That's great that you want to highlight those guys. And like I said, why don't we just end you letting people know about the Best of CD and when it's going to be available?
Sure. It's available through Crown X Records or Rock Paper Merch, I think is who's selling it. I don't sell it myself, and Helix doesn't sell it. It's handled by our old merch company. So
Okay.
that's where you would go.
Well, Brian, Tom and I would like to thank you for coming on the show. You're welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. As you can tell, we're huge Helix fans. So best of luck with the new CD and everything. And I just want to say, man,
Thank you.
you are the ultimate rock star. I love that hat. That's the first thing I noticed when you came on.
I don't know what's going to happen when this hat wears out because I don't know where to get another one quite like it.
Oh, wow.
I
um,
got this down in Fort Myers, and then the hurricane hit,
wow.
Ian, and the floor store was flooded and closed up, so it's gone.
Okay. Well, you take care, Brian. It's been great talking to you, my friend.
Brian, thank you,
Thank you.
Brian. Take care, Brian. Thank you so much,
Okay,
man.
Open Square, see you around. Catch you on the flip side. Whoosha!
Of course. Bye bye, my friend.
Bye bye.